Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to some of you. My name is Łukasz Kornacki. I work for S4GA as a business development manager. And today I will run this presentation with you on a backup runway lighting for international airports. Few words before I start. Just want to welcome everyone who is joining us today for a second time already. Previous webinar was hosted about 3 weeks ago. And of course, I look at the list of participants so I can see airports, military, civilian, consultants. I see also some participants from ACI has joined us and CAA. So warm welcome to everyone, and also the ones I did not list today yet. I will switch off my camera later on so you don't focus on my person and you'll be able to see the presentation clearly. You probably already noticed that we have muted all of you just in order to run smoothly the presentation. So the place to leave a comment or a question is in a chat. So I will fire away slowly. Now I will stop my video. So S4GA, just one sentence on the company. S4GA is a manufacturer of the new generation of AGL, Solar AGL. S4GA manufactures systems for regional domestic airports, for military airports, and backup systems for international airports. Today's presentation will cover the backup runway lighting for international airports. The other topics, the other applications will not be covered in this presentation. They will be covered at a later stage. Also, they are already covered partly by some of the materials you can find on the internet, on the YouTube channel for S4GA. So today I will be talking about backup runway lighting for international airports. During the presentation, I will also run with the co-host, my friend Olga, who will help me during this this presentation. We will run a short surveys. They will ask you to answer just short questions that will help us to make those presentations better. So looking for your professional opinion on that. The Q&A session will be run at the end of the presentation. So after I finish, we'll run the Q&A. All in all, we estimate that the presentation, the Q&A will last for about an hour. So let's go into the agenda. Just give me a second. So what does international airports require, or when does international airport require backup runway lighting? We will be talking about two cases or two scenarios that we recognize and that we are asked about, or we already delivered, and that we see as a potential for providing the solution that S4GA is offering. But of course, in primarily, these are the scenarios or the pains of the customer, the airport that requires an answer, and is not always given. And one of the reasons why we are trying to share this presentation today. So case number one, a backup runway lighting for rehabilitation works. That's scenario or the case that we meet quite often. And case number two is a parallel backup runway lighting for a unreliable primary AGL mains power supply. This is a scenario, or this is the situation that is not as common as case number one, based on my experience and the requests that are coming to S4GA, but we see it consistently coming back. So that's why we decided to cover it in this presentation too. After this introduction, we'll make a survey. And after the survey, I will try to tell you where does S4GA system fit for international airports in described situation scenarios. As a follow-up on this, I will talk about the case study on the international airport in Greece that has been using S4GA system for case number 1, so basically a backup runway lighting. And later on, we'll do the survey and question and answer. So, case number 1, runway rehabilitation works. Basically, here we are talking about a situation when an international airport, typically an international airport, would be looking for a solution for a situation that the main runway is closed. And the main runway would be closed for a period. It can really be closed for 2 weeks. It can be closed for 3 months, up to even 12 months. It really depends on the scope of the rehabilitation works that is to be performed. International airports running 6.6 amp systems are in principle obliged to have a backup system in case of the failure of the primary system, of the 6.6 system. And the battery-powered systems, sorry for that, the battery-powered systems, which are primarily maybe used in most of the cases that I'm here describing, are not really sufficiently either compliant or they are not really addressing the situation enough for the airport to feel confident and comfortable. So rehabilitation works. We showed here 2 pictures. We actually have run a case with one of the customers that I will talk about later, which is the parallel taxiway conversion to a taxiway, parallel taxiway converted to a runway. Another picture here is presenting a crossing runways. So in other words, we are assuming that in both cases, an international airport is forced to perform a rehabilitation work, but is facing a situation of either stopping an operation or significantly limiting the operation capacity. So you probably, most of you know that there is no such thing as runway that will operate forever. You will always, sooner or later, require maintenance. Major maintenance or minor maintenance, this always is an interruption to the operations. One of the solutions that is used is shortening the length of the runway. It can be performed, but it also comes with a cost that some of the aircraft may not be accepted due to the shortened length of the runway, due to the operations limitation of the aircraft, required stop distance after landing, etc., etc. So no runway can last forever without the maintenance. As easy as that. Repavement, replacing all old runway lighting, or extension of the runway. All of those cases, including upgrade to category 2 or 3, all of those situations are putting the international airport in a stretch how to continue the operations. Now, if airport has to close the main runway for the flight operations, it can last quite long. In the case that we did, it was 9 months. So we are talking about a substantial amount of time. And for that, none of the battery-powered solution is really applicable. And an option number 2 would be running a 6.6 system, which would not be in the ground, so to say, is costly and comes with certain limitations. You have a bunch of cables running around on the airport. It's not exactly a perfect and optimal situation for the safety too. Going to the case number 2, which may be for some of you an interesting situation described, is a parallel system installed in conjunction with the existing 6.6 primary system. So where do we see a requirement for such scenario? Primarily in the airports that have significantly outdated systems or are facing issues with their main power supply. Not all countries in the world have a reliable mains power. And the genset is not something in those airports that you can count on. Then those airports are facing a situation that they are accepting a scenario of losing the entire AGL in a critical situation. And in this case, what S4GA can offer is a parallel system installed within the same boundaries as the primary system, but this S4GA system is running as a backup. And in a case of a failure, for whatever reason, of the 6.6 amp system, the solar powered system kicks in. The switch over time is basically none, can be programmed to be below 0.5, 0.2 second switch over. It all depends really on the customer and the integration with the LCMS, ALCMS that they have. In this case, we have two major situations, a scenario where we are offering a solution, and two major situations where we are asked to address by customers. Primarily, we are speaking about international airports, because when we are going to regional or domestic, maybe case number 1 with a parallel taxiway happens, but it all depends on the traffic. In second scenario, which is a crossing runway, typically you would already have a larger airport with a larger traffic, international airport. And then we are, of course, coming to the money issue. In the international airport, the volume, the traffic is much higher than in the domestic or regional airport typically, and therefore it's not optimal to allow for loss of the traffic that can occur while having the rehabilitation works done. One word of thought is that how does the airport solve the problem today? So they are starting to look for an alternative, backup runway lighting, that, in our opinion, is of course cost competitive. So they don't want to pay for another 6.6 full complete installation. They are looking for a solution that is reliable, can operate 365, so full year, because the situation can last for quite a long time. And maybe I should start with this point. The situation for the international airport is pretty straightforward. The system that they will install has to be compliant with all the regulations that apply in that situation. And basically, that's it. That's it on this topic. Now I would run more details going to what is the problem and what is the airport looking for in those cases. So a little bit saying what I did already introduced on the previous slide, the situation can last from 6 to 12 months. I would say it can last not longer than 12 months, but typically this is the time frame for major works. The contingency runway is to be illuminated. Typically a taxiway is not illuminated and doesn't have fittings for the runway. And the battery power lights do not fit because it's not practical to charge the lights every couple of days and put them on the runway. What is the airport looking for in this situation? Simple in-use backup runway lighting. So of course, no one wants complexity. That's clear because the situation is temporary. The system must be compliant with ICAO regulations, able to operate continuously without recharging. So we are primarily speaking about the systems that do not require recharging from that would actually add work to the people working on the airport, and minimum maintenance. That's also due to the fact that you are working in inconvenient situation when you have a taxiway converted to a runway. So you have a traffic and you are not looking for having maintenance people running around this environment that is not primarily designed to do this task. Second case that we described is the unreliable AGL, unreliable mains power supply. And here the concept is a little different. So the problem here is that it's not a rehabilitation work, it's the unreliability or safety concern regarding the primary AGL. The problem here is probably also driven a lot of times by the economics. So some of the airports don't see the benefit of installing a completely new system, a completely new wired system, because of the traffic and economy related to that is not justifying this. Again, a battery-powered solution is not an option for them because of what I mentioned before. There's no option for people changing the batteries or charging the batteries every few days on the main runway. I also mentioned here that the temporary solar lights, which are also available, are not really a good fit for that. And this is due to potentially extensive time on use. When we are speaking about international airports, we are looking for an operation that can last for quite a long time. And for that, you need a maximized charging. And for that reason, the temporary solar lights with a vertical solar installation are not the best fit because they will not give you this autonomy that you would require from this application. What is the airport looking for? Increased safety of the flight operations. This is primarily what they are trying to address. They have an airport, they have an existing AGL, which they cannot count on. So what they are looking for is to increase the safety, increase the reliability, and of course, increase the probability of landing in this case. Compliance with ICAO regulations is kind of a must. So this is where we are starting, that it must be regulated and approved system fittings that has complete certification required for being installed in international airports. Airfield availability 24/7, 365. This is what the airport is looking for. No question about it. It's an international airport. And what for sure airport is looking for is an option that has a cost saving. Why I'm talking about it here? Because the airport will always take into account whether to switch, to upgrade the existing 6.6 system or not. So the cost saving benefits here are playing quite vital role in the decision of installing a parallel backup runway lighting. So now I will try to talk a little bit about S4GA and solar runway lighting as a backup for the international airport. So primarily the topic of our presentation, and what is S4GA offering today. First of all, complying with ICAO Airport Design Manual. We have another presentation, another webinar covering this topic. We'll talk about it in a moment. The system, due to its design, is available 365 days per year. And it is also designed to be integrated with a ALCMS that is giving much more security, comfort, and reliability to the customer who is using the system, because the system is on the runway, but all the information, actually much more than in conventional system, is available to the user in order to maintain the operations. The system is easy to install like any other solar system, and the amount of maintenance required is also minimal. So we are addressing all the points that we see in that particular situation described, which is a backup solution that S4GA system is addressing. Just a few words on the compliance. So S4GA system is compliant with the Annex 14, also is compliant with our design manual. For sure, I could imagine there might be many questions regarding the topic, but in this presentation today, I will not cover in detail this subject. The subject was actually covered quite vastly in a webinar that was hosted 3 weeks ago by another BDM. And over there, you will find quite an in-depth information regarding the compliance. Of course, the ICAO Annex 14, as well as our design manual, they are primarily not talking about solar AGL. This is a very big topic, and S4GA is actively working on it. We're also talking to ICAO regarding the solar AGL, but this is yet still to come. We have to, as a solar provider, solar AGL provider, meet many other requirements for the AGL to fit the jet blast, the fungibility, the photometrics, etc. And all these aspects are addressed, and compliance is here within S4GA. That's why actually so confidently we can offer the lights for the international airports, because without this compliance, it's pretty much impossible. Now, the system is available 365 days a year. On this topic, I'll show you just a short animation. Straightforward, the solar is charging the battery, and when the battery is operating at night, it's giving the energy for the illumination of the light. The concept is very straightforward, simple, but within S4GA, the distributed power source concept, with each battery inside the light and each mini CCR inside the light, is still something new. In the AGL industry, this is still something new, and this is still something that we are still talking about. And when talking about this particular application, it is, I would say, the most important part, that you have a system that has a distributed power source, so the safety of it is much higher than centralized power source, where you don't have 1 or 2 or 5 cables running, supplying the same light, but you actually have energy in each individual light. So the probability of failure of 100 energy sources is much less than probability of failing 1 or 2. The system is charging via solar panel and operating, due to that fact, operating 365 days per year. I'll give you a comment here. We are making an analysis right now for a customer in, basically it's an equatorially located customer. And this customer is making very in-depth analysis of the feasibility of using solar on their airport. And overall analysis given right now after quite long discussions is that within this location, we are talking about full 24 hours, 365 days coverage of the system's operation. We are not expecting that the system would be used 24/7, 365, but actually the charging efficiency is giving that confidence. So this gives me also the right to say that this is a truly 365 full year operations system. Another webinar available covering the topic in detail, also showing the simulation, how we do it, is available on YouTube. If you're more interested to go into depth in this topic, please, it takes about 1 hour, but it will give you much better view and understanding than just my short 3-4 minutes talk. Now, installation. No trenching, that's pretty much clear. No cables and no CCRs. That's prerequisite to S4GA or solar systems. Then on the contrary, you will see how installation of a solar system looks. It's pretty straightforward. You need to have a piece of concrete that you would install the light. Everything is above the ground. And if you were wondering where those pictures have been taken, this is actually an international airport where this S4GA system has been installed for the rehabilitation works. So we will bring you those pictures. There is a major difference in the speed of the installation. This particular customer, we did the installation in 12 hours. 2.5 kilometer runway, 10 people, 2 supervisors, and the parallel taxiway converted to a runway took 12 hours, including installation of the tower LCMS that I will show you later as well. In typical cases, it will take a few days, but in this particular case, it took 12 hours, which was of course a stretch, but it was possible, and the operation started the next day. Maintenance. A comment on the maintenance is the following. Of course, every system requires maintenance, and of course, every system, regardless of the technology, will require some form of additional work. In terms of requirements for the solar system, it's quite limited. There is a requirement for the replacement of the batteries every once in 2 years, and there is a requirement for cleaning of the solar panel. How often? It really depends on the location. If we are talking about Saudi Arabia, a lot of dust and a lot of sand, we'll maybe have to make the maintenance of the cleaning of the solar panels every few days. Another way to say would be it's not very comfortable. But on the other hand, if you are maybe from Saudi listening to this webinar, you'd know that there is a daily cleaning of the fittings happening in Saudi due to the dust and sand accumulation. So cleaning additionally solar panel would not be work that is not done anyway, and because the engineers, the technicians are there anyway every day. Now, in locations like islands or monsoon areas, this is really every couple of months. That is spoken from the experience. I think it's worth to mention on this part the difference between a wired system and a solar system in terms of the safety. You probably all know that the 6.6 system primary cable will run for almost 5,000 volts of energy, and as you also, a lot of you will know, voltage burns and current kills. With the systems, with the wired systems, the aspect of the safety is, let's say, never enough covered. Even ICAO in 2019 has run a document, a study report resulted in over a conclusion that there is a lack of trained personnel that can maintain safely an existing systems. This not only referred to AGL, but AGL was one of the topics that was also covered in the study. So within S4GA, how does it work in this system? We are talking about 12-volt batteries which are inside the light. It's actually very difficult to have anyone being hurt or killed by the voltage or amperage within the lights. Each light is individual, so you don't have you're not working on multiple lights at the same time. The level of the safety and the requirements for the technicians working on S4G lights is much lower, and for the benefit of the user than a conventional system. Now, case study from the Thessaloniki Greek airport that S4GA equipped 2 years ago for a project that lasted 8 months. Just a few pictures. And this is exactly the project that I mentioned that installation took 12 hours. Have a look at the video, how it looked from the aeroplane. We are now looking from the side of the window of the aeroplane that is taxiing on the perpendicular taxiway. We have the wing bar lights, we have the runway lights. This is the intensity, and this is how the pilots saw the runway illuminating. From their perspective, they would never know this was a solar system installed. They would never recognize that this is not a conventional 6.6 system. The system was used for 8 months on this particular parallel taxiway. Maybe another slide to share with you would be some other applications, also giving a feeling about where we are today and what we can do. The first video is from Poland. It's a customer in Poland that has a battery-powered backup system. As you can see now, the system operates on the video, and it's an international airport with 2.5 kilometer runway. The second video that I'm running is actually from the Greek case study. Here you can see a ALCMS installed on a tower, and the operator is switching on and off the lights, which are in the background but not visible well on this video. Another short video is from Argentina. This is exactly a backup system, a portable backup system on the runway. You can see the illumination time and then the PAPI, and now it's going to switch off just to show you the speed of the radio and how it works in the real time. And the last short movie is from the landing in Maldives. It's right now a domestic airport using the system, S4GA system, as a primary solution for this particular customer. So after the rehabilitation work, what can be done? Because you're left with the lights. What actually customer can do in case number one, of course, when the rehabilitation works are finished. So what really can be done is the following. They, of course, can use it in another rehabilitation project that can happen later. Keep the light as a backup for any emergency situation that can happen in the future. And option number 3 is the conversion. S4G lights, S4GA fittings are designed in a way that you actually can convert them to another type of lighting. This exactly is the case for the Greek customer that has purchased about 100 plus lights, and after the rehabilitation works have finished, because they did the upgrade, they decided to convert the lights to a taxiway. So all the lights are now working as a taxiway, but due to that fact, they didn't run a 6.6 system for the taxiway on certain taxiways that they had. And this is the scenario that is also unique to S4GA and also unique to a solar solution, that actually you are 100% able to utilize the equipment that you have due to this specific of not being connected to any centralized system of power, due to easiness of installation and de-installation and the removal from the site. I managed to fit into 45 minutes. I would like to say thank you, and I would like to say please subscribe to our YouTube channel and LinkedIn, S4GA website. Then you will be kept up to date with all the information that we are publishing, and there's actually quite a lot of it. So maybe I will start here with a question that appeared just a moment ago from Sumit. What happens if there is no sunlight and the solar panels don't get charged? So this particular question is covered. So first of all, it is the topic of the 365 days operation of the system, of the solar system. And if you would like to have a, let's say, a full complete answer, then I would send you to a webinar that was run on the 365 days operation. But in a short, we have a battery in the light that allows for 180 up to 600 hours of autonomy, depending on the fitting, because some lights consume more, some lights consume less energy. And for that purpose, this autonomy is protecting the airport from running out of the energy when there is no sun. But of course, as we all know, until now, the sun rises every day all over the world. And the situation of no sun, we are really talking about the situation of the clouds covering the sun. And I think this topic is quite a big topic. I cannot really do it here right now, the detailed explanation. I really send Sumit, I really ask you to see the webinar, the one that's published on the YouTube. If you still have questions, you still need the clarification, please contact me directly. I will be available for a call or WhatsApp. We can talk and I will explain in more details. Now, going to another question. 4 questions now from Khaled. Question number 1, as the using of solar lights is temporary, can those solar lights be rented by supplier for 6 months or 1 year, so no need to purchase them? Valid question. S4GA does not rent the products, does not supply them for a temporary time to users. The user are expected to purchase them and use them. And as far as I know, there's no plans to change this policy. So from S4GA as a supplier of the solar solution, I cannot help you on this one. We are not renting out the lights. Have you done any cost comparison between solar and wired in case of a temporary solution? Yes, we did. Yes, we did. And to be very honest, this is not a when we are talking about a temporary solution, it's even easier than when talking about comparing to a conventional 6.6. But in a nutshell, almost every comparison I saw, and it's always a little different because each country or region has a little different pricing when talking about the conventional systems. Of course, there can be a conventional systems for various suppliers, so they also vary. But a S4GA comparison typically gives us an advantage, let's say, between 10, 20, 30% lower cost of purchasing. I'm not even talking about the cost of operating, so OPEX, and maintenance. In OPEX, we are basically at zero. So there is 100% difference because there is no cost for operating S4GA system. And maintenance cost, we are at least at 50–70% lower because the replacement of the batteries, it happens every 2 years, and cleaning of the solar panel, comparing to the work that has to be done on a conventional system, even installed temporarily, is significant. Do you have the same solar AFL lights solution for runway closure? Do you have the same solar AFL lights for runway closure? I'm not sure I understand the question. Can you ask this one again, just for me to clarify? What do you mean, the same lights for runway closure? Then the next one, what about the inset lights? Do you have a solar solution? The answer for this question in short is yes, we do. Then the second would be a longer one. How do we do it? We do it by providing a solar engine with an inbuilt CCR that would run several inset lights remotely and power them remotely from the solar. We have a complete solution for that. And of course, everything is integrated and everything is controlled from S4GA ALCMS. So it's all coming in a package and it's ready to be used. Availability of similar system for approach lights. So this is a question from, oh, sorry, no, I missed one question from Khaled. The use solar lights is with DC lamp. What about the battery autonomy? The LED lights are driven by DC, that's correct. And the autonomy of the battery I mentioned is 180 to 600 hours. So again, depending on the fitting. What I mean is fully charged battery will run for this amount of hours illumination without any charging. Now, question from Emil. Availability of similar system for approach lights. S4GA has a certified approach light today for low intensity systems. All these certificates can be found on our website. So the short answer to your question is S4GA can provide and is able to provide an approach light as well as runway light for the system, for temporary system. Next question, how much battery backup? I think I already gave 2 times the answer for that question, so I'll skip this one. Desmond, are you able to provide single light monitoring? Thank you for the question, Desmond. Yes, we are. In the ALCMS, we have an inbuilt functionality of individual light monitoring. It's another topic. It will be covered by another webinar because S4GA ALCMS is a quite robust system. It allows for a lot of information is available, including not only charging speed, the efficiency of the solar, the state of the battery. It also gives you the ability to see if the light is not moving. So basically the ability of system to analyze if the lights are not stolen. This also sometimes happens on non-fenced airports. Maybe not international, but it's good to know that. So I could be talking a lot about this. I'm not going to cover this topic in full, but in short, yes, the S4GA system gives a full single light monitoring capabilities. So the next question here is from Manik. What is the protection to solar panel from the aircraft thrust? This very good question. This S4GA fittings have been certified according to the ICAO for a jet blast. The jet blast covers 240 km/h resistance of the whole fitting, including the solar panel. So it's not only solar panel, but also the fitting and the mounting. Certificate is available on request, but I ask you to join the YouTube where you can actually see a short movie that we did when testing the lights in the institute. Okay, next question. What is the backup time for the battery in hours? I think that's the third time the same question comes. Again, answered already, up to 600 hours. In a dusty, from Mr. Pinto, in a dusty and windy environment, which is, what is the efficiency of the solar panel? The system monitors in terms of to program the cleaning. So I will answer the second question. In the ALCMS, I mentioned the system is giving the advice for the user for the cleaning. So in other words, it's telling the user, hey, your efficiency charging has dropped to the agreed threshold, and maybe it's a good idea to clean the solar panels. This is what the ALCMS capabilities are today. Now, will it work in a dusty and windy environment? The short answer is yes, but I will not give you the technical answer. I will give you the practical answer. The system is used in a Libyan desert, installed for several years. The system is installed in Yukon, that is very up north, when there is quite a limited amount of sun, and it is operating there all permanently. And the system has been also used in South Africa, South America, so basically globally, where all the conditions of dusty, windy, limited sun, monsoon environment we can encounter, but in all those locations, the systems are already operating for years now. Now, what will be the power consumed by each fixture? It depends on the fixture. So Alexis, thank you for the question. It is depending on the fixture type. So the maximum power consumption for the fixture would be 9 watt. When talking about low intensity runway edge light, when talking about taxiway light, it will be substantially less. It will be probably something about 0.3 watt. So the spread is pretty high, and this is also why the autonomy differs depending on the fixture. Khaled, runway closure, the red lights we install. Okay. Now you clarified your question number 3 from previous list. The answer is yes. We can supply also the barricade and the runway closure lights. They are in our portfolio. Is the best angle for the solar panel? Yes, there is a best angle for a solar panel. That's a topic. That's again quite a large topic. In a nutshell, the angle of the solar panel depends on the location north-south. If you are moving more toward the equator, then the solar panel should be, let's say, more flattened to the horizon. Shouldn't be almost flat, but let's say in a range of 15 degrees to maximize the generation of the power. Now, when we are going towards north, let's say Yukon, the inclination of the solar panel should be in the range of 45 degrees, so much more inclinated to the horizon. In S4GA, we are using a standard optimized inclination that is 33 degrees, and it is in vast majority of the applications that we have installed and used and made the analysis is exactly giving the optimum efficiency of the solar panel charging. And the potential loss to non-optimized is minimal. So yes, there is a best angle. And here I will comment that a vertical installed solar panel, so 90 degrees, is pretty much not an optimal solution. Now, a next one from Oliver. Thank you again for Oliver for the good wishes. The next one is on the glare. I think this question has been raised several times already, not in this webinar, but in the discussions. So the glare effect is coming from reflective components. let's say a mirror is a reflective component. A white surface will be a reflective component, but a dark solar panel is designed to capture solar rays. It's not giving a glare. I will give you an example. If you have a solar farm, then this solar farm, the big solar farms that you can find in many countries right now, they never glare a pilot. This problem does not exist, because they would be, if assuming that there is a problem with the glare, they would be significantly fighting this aspect, but they don't, because the solar panel captures the solar rays, therefore does not reflect them. So the glare is not really an issue. Send me a copy of the presentation, will be done. What is the maximum temperature that your product can carry? The maximum temperature is limited by the battery. Our standard battery will operate in, and this is a lead acid AGM battery, will carry up to about 50 degrees. But we have an option to install a more battery redundant battery that will handle up to 80 degrees. And this pretty much covers all over the world in terms of the battery, and this is the limitation. Other components are not limited by the temperature below 100 degrees, so we are not really worried about this. The battery lifetime, depending on the battery of the light, it will be minimum 2 years, which is our standard battery. So you will have to replace it after 2 years. And if we are talking about lithium-ion batteries that are also available, this will be close to 4 or 5 years. Do you have anything installed in a Gulf area, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates? We are now in multiple talks with customers from Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. We are represented there by a reputable company called Ekesa. And today we haven't got any yet, but we are expecting this year to have first projects. Generally in the Gulf area, I don't recall any project right now. I think most, maybe some obstruction lights have been sold over the years, but there is no major project that we have delivered in the Gulf. Okay, have installed the system from Valids. Have installed the system for runway operated with LVP condition, Cat 2, Cat 3 operation. And what about photometric test compliance? I'm not sure I understand the question, but I think I have to comment that when we are speaking about temporary runway rehabilitation works, any type of this operation, the LVP or Cat 2 will not be an option. We are speaking about maximum Cat 1 type of operation, and typically not even, because the runway will be operated under non-precision conditions. So I'm not sure I understand the question right, but I think if you can ask it maybe differently, I could better answer the question. Do you manufacture a customized product according to the country specs regarding sun rays and energy output, or do you have a standard product for the efficiency point of view? We have a standard product from the efficiency point of view. Of course, customization is possible, but it comes with a cost. So any customization to a specifics of the country, let's say in the solar panel inclination, would require another quantity of 500 plus. So typically it doesn't happen within the orders that we get. Can you create a moving solar panel to follow the sun? Yes, we can, but we are not doing it for the obvious reasons of the cost and efficiency, and basically because it is not required. In principle, the solar panel, by the way how it is charging, has to be facing north or south, and if it's doing it, there's no reason, there's no technical ground for following the sun, because in fact if you place it in north or south location, depending where you are, on which hemisphere, you will cover the full 12 hours cycle of the sun on the horizon. So moving solar is not really necessary. Now, I have not seen a question from Tarek. I have not seen during my professional life that that lasted for more than 40 years, a battery of 600 backup time. Please send me a datasheet. Will do, and I must comment on this particular point that the 600 hours operation of the light refers to a taxiway light equipped with a standard battery. With the lithium-ion battery that we offer, this time can exceed 1,000 hours. Can we change the type of your light from portable to solar? The answer is yes. And that's exactly how it could be done. So basically by using an extra fitting. Also, it is possible to replace or change the light type. So you would have a runway white and you want to change it to white yellow. It can be done, and it can be done locally on site. What about the maintenance frequency of the LED bulb? There is the maintenance frequency is pretty straightforward. The LEDs have about 100,000 hours autonomy until they fail. I'm working in S4GA for 6+ years, and I remember 2 cases, so 2 lights, 2 light bulbs that had been replaced because they basically were out. So the problem of the light bulb, LED light bulb, does not exist or almost doesn't exist as it is in halogen systems. The LED are reliable. When they are cooled properly, they are lasting for a very long time. So I think much longer than expected by typical experience of a halogen systems. Is the cleaning process achieved manually for the solar panel? The answer is yes. It's a wet sponge, and basically you clean the solar panel. Exactly same as you would do it on a big farm where they clean the solars. Over there, sometimes they have it automated, but it's only due to the size of the solar. But in our case, we will be cleaning them manually. Thank you, Nazim, for the support. That's actually our customer from Maldives, that the movie you have already seen. Thank you for the support. The comparison, no problem, will be provided to you to your email. If there is any other questions, please shoot. Unless there ain't, and we'll slowly close because we passed the hour dedicated for this webinar. So I'm assuming that this was the last question. Thank you again, everyone. Appreciate the attendance, the high rate of the participation. I saw at some point 70 plus 80 participants, so quite a big audience today. Again, keep safe, stay safe, and in case you would find anything you would still want to ask, you know where to find me. Thank you again. Thank you again for everyone for this hour of your time.